If those truly were my golden years, I'm a little bit worried. Because my 20s weren't the best. They kind of sucked, if I'm gonna be honest. Hi, and welcome to Chaos and Fuckery. Or welcome back if you have been here before and are wondering where the hell I went. I decided when I started this podcast, and as you can see, some of my chaos is right here with me. This is Gizzy. For those listeners who are just listening to the audio right now, one of my 3 cats jumped up in my lap like she always does when I leave my door open and I decide to record. When I started this podcast originally, and I've hidden all of those videos now, but when I started it originally, I was thinking, oh, this would be about my journey of going from corporate drone to corporate dropout, aka leaving my 9 to 5 to run a business and be who I truly wanted to be. I thought it would be a little bit of a self-discovery journey in the last 2 years of my 30s, but the reality is it's going to be rediscovering who I am after living my entire 20s in a career that I hate, a family that is not so great to me and has always kind of talked shit behind my back, and rediscovering everything that is life in your 30s after basically wasting away your 20s. Everyone says your 20s are your golden years, but if that was my golden years, Lord help me, because that sucked. And, I feel as generations are doing more in their younger years, they start really living in their later years when they have money, they have houses. But in today's day and age, a lot of my generation can't even afford to buy a house. I'm some of the lucky few that I'm sitting in the home that I own. But it is a lot of chaos and a whole lot of fuckery. And rediscovering who you are amongst a world that is terrifying to live in most days, a job you hate, a marriage that has gone through hell and back in the last few years, and just in general, not really understanding a lot about yourself because you have done all of the right things. You got married, you bought the house, you don't really want kids, and that is a problem with your family. That becomes your entire personality, and you hated it. If you are in that position, this podcast is for you, but also this channel is for you, because my hope in the future is more than just a podcast on this channel. I want to use this channel to reintroduce myself in a way that's not just fitness, not just gaming, not in these tiny little niche bubbles that I have. I want to use the chaos in the Chaos and Fuckery to show you all of the weird and random things that I do. So this channel is where I'll be sharing, my monthly vlogs as a fitness coach, as someone who's still stuck in my 9 to 5 that I loathe, but at least, hey, I work from home. And all of the crazy chaos that it is living with 3 cats and my husband who does a bunch of crazy sports and going and doing those things with him. I want to share the not so boring part about being me. And almost no day is just purely boring in my life. And I like it that way. And hopefully in the near future, I will get to share, RV tripping journeys on this channel, as well as building our home, because my husband and I, while we own the home we're in now, have really been interested in buying a large property somewhere and building. So I hope as I grow this channel and grow this podcast that people are alongside for the journey of the chaos and the fuckery, as they are also probably in a lot of their own chaos and fuckery. I hope to share in the chaos and misery and fuckery that come all together of just being someone in your early 30s, late 20s even, and trying to survive this industry, this world, the financial struggles of being a US citizen. Who knows? This channel could eventually turn into leaving the US with my husband. We don't really know. And at the end of the day, we are literally living day by day and taking the chaos and fuckery as it comes. I want that to be the focus of this channel and not stress so much when I go to record this episode. What topics am I talking about? I want to be able to just talk about life, talk about, the struggles of your early 20s. Because now that my 20s are behind me, if those truly were my golden years, I'm a little bit worried. Because my 20s weren't the best. They kind of sucked, if I'm going to be honest. I felt broke most of them. I was miserable in, jobs. I was struggling with a lot of mental health issues that I have finally, got all the diagnostics together in my late 20s to early 30s, because I just turned 30 in the past few months. Getting married at 22 is not an easy task to make that marriage last. And I wasn't one of those people that was just going to give up on my marriage and divorce and hightail it out there. Because honestly, if I was hightailing it out of my marriage, I was hightailing it to be alone and a hermit for the rest of my life. I have learned that while I had been forced to be a social being most of my life, naturally, that is not who I am. I can be bubbly and fun and weird on the internet, but if I put that personality in front of the people that are supposed to be the ones that care about me, they would look at me like I have 5 heads and probably talk shit about me behind my back. And that was part of my journey in my 20s, is discovering that most of my family are a bunch of fucking shitheads. And they're worthy of going no contact with, because some of them arguably belong in jail. And I don't want to be around those types of people. I don't want my life to be something that is just miserable day in and day out. I want to enjoy what I do. I want to enjoy my marriage. And I want to enjoy just being with him. And being with our cats. And being just in a world that is so fucked up that the chaos and fuckery come to rain down on us all, but we've got to learn to enjoy it. And that is what Chaos and Fuckery in this channel is all about. Sharing the chaos, sharing the fuckery, talking about all of it. Because no one likes to talk about the fact that, there's pro-Anna content coming back to the social media space. And as someone who struggled with that type of thing in my life, I do want to talk about that stuff, but not from the perspective of a fitness professional, because every fitness professional on the planet is talking about it. Any good one is. I want to talk about it from the perspective of someone who lived in that era and had a family that constantly made it known that if you were in a bigger body, you weren't welcome. And you should be doing the marathons with them, even if you didn't like running. That's the kind of stuff I want to talk about. I want to talk about real shit. I don't want to be this superficial, trying to market my fitness business like stupidity all the time, because I also want to talk about the marketing game just in general. Not as someone who has to deal with it as a business owner, but why are marketing tactics so fucking slimy, and why do we fall for them? Like, the world is corrupt. The world is crazy. And at the end of the day, I want to share a little bit of my own chaos and my own fuckery and make people not feel so alone. Because if at the end of the day I help one singular person in their late 20s get a little bit further ahead than I was, then I did my job with this podcast. Because I wasted my 20s, and I'm not going to waste my 30s. And I don't mean, I wasted it with the wrong person, because if there's anything I did right in my 20s, it was marrying my husband. Things haven't always been easy, and I'm not going to pretend like they always are, but I'm also not going to discuss why or why not. I will say they weren't always easy, and nothing about getting married in your early 20s is easy, because arguably nothing about being married is 100% easy 100% of the time. But if you did it with the right person, even when you hate their guts, it's worth every damn day. And, going long distance with my husband for a little bit was probably the most eye-opening experience I've ever had when it comes to marriage. And that's not a unique experience by any stretch of the imagination. Plenty of people live 90% of their marriage in a long distance situation because of military, because of jobs, because of whatever. I know I wasn't unique, but it helped me discover a lot. And if people are new to that after, being attached at the hip with their spouse most of their marriage, it's something I can help someone with because it's an experience that is not unique, but definitely a little chaotic and definitely full of a lot of fuckery. I want to share, the crazy things I do because not every day is content worthy, but if I put a whole month together, it is a lot of chaos. And I want to share a little bit more of me and a little bit less of the marketing fitness entrepreneur or the gamer who's just trying to grow their streams. I want to be me on a channel that is uniquely mine and not something I'm trying to market or sell a business to. If this gets monetized, great. Cool, people actually resonate with me and think I'm an actually decent human being. I would love that for myself, but that's not what this is about. This is just about helping maybe that one person that finds you. This is about sharing a little bit of chaos in this fucked up world and funny moments and, talking about experiences of going no contact with families and why you do it and why it's hard, and talking about, weird marriage experiences and talking about rediscovering who you are after a decade of being in a miserable career and not really knowing what the fuck you're doing. Talking about the struggles of being in your early 30s versus our previous generations, because most of my generation can't afford a house. I am of the lucky few that, got in at the right time and I'm sitting pretty comfortably. But I understand that I am living in a luxury. And I want to talk about those types of things. Talk about things that are real and not just about politics because, yes, and everything is inherently political, but like not everyone wants to hear politics all the damn time. Am I right? Okay. So, yeah, if that resonates with you, that's what this podcast is going to be all about now. I started this, like I said, I think I said maybe, this is take 2 or 3 because chaos happens and I get cats that climb up in my lap or start screaming at me, randomly making me think they're hurt. So I don't know if I did mention this, but I originally started this podcast with the intentions of showing my journey of going from corporate drone to corporate dropout as I try to build my business as a fitness entrepreneur, as a content creator, and everything in between. But I found myself struggling to come up with topics that I wanted to talk about in that realm, whether it be fitness things, whether it be gaming things, whether it be just things that are impacting both of those industries. I didn't have a focus, but yet my podcast was called Chaos and Fuckery. I don't need a focus. I need to be me. I need an outlet to shoot the shit with random people as I start to potentially bring on guests in the future of just how did you go from this to this and how did you survive it? Because I'm sure it was full of a lot of chaos and fuckery. Because every industry is full of chaos and fuckery. It's not unique to fitness. It's not unique to gaming. And I mean, there's plenty of times I'm sure we'll talk about unique to gaming or unique to fitness topics. For instance, one of the things I do want to talk about is AI. And is it good? Is it bad? I think it's Micron, the company that is selling basically all of their RAM to AI companies only and basically pricing gamers out of the realm of possibility of building their own PC or even buying consoles because guess what? Your consoles also need RAM. And I'm sure any gamer knows that, but like when you see these big companies start bowing down to the AI overlords, what does that mean for the rest of us? And as an engineer, I have one perspective, and as a creator, I have another. And that's the unique chaos about me. And I have a kind of weird fascination with dystopian futures where I don't think as much as I see the bad in it that AI is going away. So do we work with it? Do we fight against it? Do we turn into Terminator? But it's a discussion to have, and one that I do plan on having on a future episode, probably in the near future. I want this place to be a place where we can have candid conversation, where being apolitical is not a bad thing, where seeing both perspectives isn't a bad thing. Where it's just a lot of chaos and maybe a little bit of fuckery, because I'm open to conversations and that's what I want to have. I want to have more conversations and less just people screaming at each other, because that's what the industry feels like right now. Both like across the board, all industries feel like just people screaming at each other. And I am tired of it. to be completely frank, I am tired of feeling like I'm constantly having to defend myself and constantly having to fear, hate raids and, fear someone seeing the fact that I still have some Potter memorabilia that I've bought like years ago when I was a kid. Because I don't support those views, but I did genuinely love those movies and books and everything involved in that world. I couldn't tell the writer, face card wise from any other fantasy writer at that age, or really probably even now. I didn't pay attention to who wrote anything. I don't know producers, and that's, there is no, ethical consumption, whatever. I like to have conversations and common sense. And the world seems to be lacking just a little bit of that as of late. And maybe that's a lot of fuckery on my part, and maybe it is going to lose me clients in the future if I openly speak about some of these things. But at the end of the day, I am who I am, and I want to be a better version of myself than I was in my 20s, in my 30s. And that's what this whole channel is going to be about. It is going to be the podcast. It's also going to be vlogs. It also may include some more like scripted, funny content. I don't mean scripted. I mean, like tier list, edited, not scripted. More highly edited content. But for the most part, it's going to be a lot of the chaos and a lot of the fuckery and as little edits as humanly possible. From a vlog perspective, from a podcast perspective, I will be sharing, videos that I think are funny, or, coming with content ideas from TikTok to just talk to and react to that don't really fit my general content. Because at one point I had another podcast with a co-host of mine, and I would come in with a lot of topics because of things that I wanted to talk about. I have things I want to say, and for some reason, when I first started committing to this podcast, I forgot that I have a voice and I have things that I want to say, and some of them may be controversial and some of them may not be. But at the end of the day, I just want to have a conversation. Yes, I have some very strong opinions. And yes, my life is chaotic, but I also have some pretty decent life experiences when it comes to traveling the world and, doing things a little backwards sometimes. And I am on this rediscovery journey, and I'm sure many other people are also rediscovering themselves, rediscovering who they are without their families in a no contact situation, rediscovering who they are outside of the traditions and structure and what is rude or disrespectful in their environment growing up versus what they believe now. There is a lot of self-discovery that comes with turning 30. And as I progress further into my 30s, I would like to document that journey of rediscovering who I am and kind of having a conversation. Because everything's so polarizing nowadays. As someone who is willingly child-free, I'd love to have conversations with parents about why they believe, parents should get more time off than non-parents. Or, because I definitely don't agree with that one. But you know what I mean. I'd like to have a lot of, I don't want to say debate, because I think there's a lot of debate addicts out there. I like to listen to Hassan, but there's a lot of people that just like to fuel the flame, and I don't want to get into the drama realm. I just like to have conversations. I don't want to be like, I don't want to be a drama commentator by any stretch of the imagination, but I will bring, certain topics that I think are interesting. the whole cancel culture thing there's a lot of people conversating about Colleen Ballinger and Ned Fulmer coming back to the internet. And as a longtime YouTube individual, maybe not always as a creator, but as a viewer for sure, I think that whole I think what previous creators were canceled for versus what current creators are getting canceled for versus, their ability. What is cancel culture? Are you ever really canceled? So why are we all so afraid to have candid conversations if you're only canceled if you let yourself be canceled? Stuff like that. Sharing vlogs of, my theme park trips and my chaos of traveling, maybe RV traveling around the country at some point. I don't know. I like to travel. I like to talk. I like to have opinions on things that I don't necessarily always get to voice in some of my other channels because I have to be a professional business owner. In some places, I like to be able to share these things, and this is where I plan on doing that. So, that's probably enough rambling for this episode as a reintroduction or introduction if you're new here to Chaos and Fuckery. This channel is meant to be an open conversation about different topics in the world, rediscovering yourself in your 30s after wasting your 20s away, discussing, marriage and kids and corporate life draining the absolute bullshit life out of you. The struggles, it's being a millennial or a younger millennial. I definitely am not an elder millennial. I'm barely a millennial. But being of, elder Gen Z and a full-blown millennial, what it's like to try to adult right now, even even later Gen Zs. Anyways, the whole concept of, rediscovering yourself. When is it okay to go no contact with your family? What, why would you never? Why would you? Having those candid conversations, both in the comments and with guests in the future, hopefully, is what I want to do. I want to discuss life and rediscover who I am and rediscover things I enjoy that don't feel like so much work. But that is really it for this episode. I just wanted to do a brief introduction of what you're going to see in the future on this channel as we continue to progress through this year. And, the next episode, we're going to talk about the goals, because this next episode will drop the day before. Oh, no, it will drop on New Year's Day. The next episode will drop on New Year's Day. So we're going to talk all about 2025 goals. 2025. I guess we could recap those, but I'm not going to because that feels like looking back on a complete and total failure. And I don't want to. Yes, you have to evaluate your mistakes, but I know what I did, I know what I didn't do. And I know that I was a little bit of a piece of shit. So we're just going to start fresh with 2026 and, not look back on the total failure that was trying to do the whole corporate drone to corporate dropout thing with everything that was going on in my personal life and everything else in the year of 2025. This is just a little bit of a reintroduction right before we hop into the new year of hi, hello, welcome to the chaos, and I hope you enjoyed the fuckery.